right. Well, we're going to get into the Watchtower, I believe, because there's some extra culty stuff. This is the one that witnesses are studying today. So this article is called "Are You Heeding the Warnings?" And to be honest, I don't remember if we've talked about this. I know that like this image I've used in the background of a thumbnail because it's really wild. Just Jesus, our King Jeez up here, who's not rendered in high definition. That's Watchtower's call. They don't want Jesus to be too shiny, I guess, and outshine the budget. Fuck, I'm off my game. I guess I was trying to say that it costs money to host high fidelity images on their website. I don't know. Guess that was a joke. So let's look at some of the crimes that Jesus is concerned about and overseeing. So Jesus in color is like, yes, good. We love people who are watching jw.org content and putting their hand over their heart like, oh, thank you, Jehovah. They do see people who are in non-English speaking countries studying in other languages. He sees imprisoned Jehovah's Witnesses who are just praying like, please help me to not be a Jehovah's Witness anymore. Building stuff. Jesus obviously supports the building work, as you'll see in my next video. It's a big part of what Jesus is all about. He's with old people and black people at the same time. But then he's also, he's also looking over people who are preaching to their nurses and doctors on their deathbed because they're refusing a blood transfusion. Now, there's some things that I would say that these seem like they can exist without Jesus, quite frankly. Like watching videos on a tablet, or constructing a building, or saying words into a microphone at a church service, or sitting outside as a family. Those all seem like things that you don't necessarily need Jesus for. What you might need Jesus for are things like crippling gambling addiction, or domestic violence, or I guess just civil unrest generally. It's not clear what this sign says. No more. It's a little blurry. They don't want to take a stance even in a hypothetical situation. And then he's also not doing anything about war. He's not doing anything about this person who seems to be snorting cocaine, which seems a little explicit for a Watchtower magazine, but that's what it looks like to me. Or a gunman robbing somebody for their groceries. Those are all things that Jesus is not actually that concerned about. But, we'll see. This picture here is crazy. Each of us does well to take seriously the warning of the parable of the virgins by being prepared and vigilant, ready to endure to the end. I guess we'll have to read to see what exactly the parable of the virgins is. I don't totally remember what that one's all about. And what this is depicting, though, is somebody who's like watching. This is a witness, presumably. He's got his Jehovah's Witness Bible. It's got the New World Translation, eating dry toast and tea, and already wearing full witness regalia early in the morning, watching the news. Across the globe, nations continue to call for peace. Witnesses teach that there's going to be a worldwide cry of peace and security, or for peace and security. Unclear. This is like civil unrest. Well, it says right here on the news, unprecedented war rages. So there you go. You got to take note of the times and be like these ladies, these nice virgins. I don't remember what the virgins are all about. The discreet and foolish virgins. Okay. In the parable of the virgins, let's figure out what this is, because I don't actually know what this is. God, I always hated having to talk about random virgins. I know, it sounds incel culture-esque. Ooh, okay. A race today says, unrelated, but the blood thing really gets me. Oh, in extreme circumstances, your blood can be used directly to keep people alive, even harvesting the organs of the dead to keep living alive. I know, it's a real trigger for me. That's why I skipped over it real quick, because I don't want to necessarily dwell on the disturbing blood doctrines of Jehovah's Witnesses. But yeah, let's listen to some cringe talk about virgins on this conservative evangelical website. In the parable of the virgins, Jesus spoke of 10 virgins who went out to meet a bridegroom. I don't like the word bridegroom, I gotta say. How about we just say groom? Isn't the fact that they're going to be married to a bride kind of implied? I don't know. They all hoped to accompany the bridegroom to his marriage feast. Jesus described 5 of them as discreet, and the other 5 as foolish. The discreet virgins were prepared and vigilant. They were ready to wait for the bridegroom as long as needed, even if he arrived late at night. I'm just thinking of a person who's, okay, a man on his wedding day, or just before and after the event. That's what I thought. Just a guy who's, like, betrothed. He's going to be married, or was just married, to a bride. Why are these 10 virgins waiting on this guy? Is it because he's going to be married to all 10 of them? Because we're in polyamorous relationships? Is that what's happening? Is the bride the groom bride? This is what I'm saying. I don't understand what... Oh, they're waiting for the guy's half of the wedding party to show up? Someone's saying they're going to have a wild sex party? I mean, that makes sense. If a gay couple gets married, is it called the groom? These are the important questions we have to ask when reading God's word, the Bible. So I don't know. These virgins were so horny, all 10 of them, I guess ready to marry this guy. 10 virgins who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. Okay, so not a lot of details from good old G's. So they were ready to wait for the bridegroom as long as needed, even if he arrived late at night. Thus, they brought oil lamps to provide light in the dark. They even brought extra oil in case the bridegroom should delay. So they were prepared to keep their lamps burning. When the bridegroom arrived, the discreet virgins went in with him to the wedding feast. In like manner, anointed Christians who have proved ready by remaining vigilant and faithful until the coming of Christ will be judged worthy of joining the bridegroom Jesus in the heavenly kingdom. I thought they needed oil because they were going to be like making a journey at night, but they're just waiting outside. They're just waiting outside of like the wedding venue. Right in the middle of the night, there was a shout, "Here is the bridegroom, go out to meet him." Then all those virgins got up and put their lamps in order. In order? The foolish said to the discreet, "Give us some of your oil, because our lamps are about to go out." The discreet answered, saying, "Perhaps there may not be enough for both us and you. Go instead to those who sell it and buy some for yourself." These are some catty, some groom bridezillas. While they were going off to buy it, the bridegroom came. The virgins who were ready went into him to the marriage feast at the door. This is a really shitty parable. This has to be Jesus' worst parable. I have so many questions about the space that we're involved in. I don't understand the scenario. Like, if they're all together, are these just like really shitty lamps that you can't see? Even if like 5 other people have a lamp, you gotta have your own. I don't totally understand this. Unless the lamp is like part of the ceremony. Every time I talk about the Bible, people get upset because I get things wrong. I blame my education in the theocratic ministry school. Went into him. Good catch, by the way. Maybe they, stuck their thumb up his butt or something. I don't know. Jesus leaves a lot of room up to interpretation. Okay, so people had to leave and go get oil because they ran out and they were foolish. They didn't bring enough oil. They weren't anticipating that the bridegroom, would be taking quite so long to come and get them for the wedding ceremony. I don't really get this. I need a lot of context for this. What is the lesson for anointed ones? Let's just get to the lesson, because I don't understand what the story means. Let's hear what they say it means. Prove yourself prepared and vigilant. Jesus was not foretelling that there would be 2 classes of the anointed, one that was prepared to wait until the end of the system of things and one that was not. Oh, because it definitely seems like he was. Rather, he was explaining what would happen to anointed ones if they were not prepared to endure faithfully to the end. In that case, they would not receive the reward. What? No, it is saying that. How is this different? Jesus was not saying that there would be one class that was prepared to wait until the end and one that was not. Rather, he was explaining that people who didn't wait until the end would have consequences. Like, am I crazy, or are they kind of saying the same thing? I don't really understand the difference you're trying to make here. It's almost like they're trying to get out from under the possibility of people saying, well, maybe the governing body are being foolish virgins. Maybe they're being foolish virgins. Maybe they're not accurately preparing for the end. So they're like, no, 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 no. We're not saying that that's possible. That's not possible. He's just saying what would happen if we weren't discreet virgins. But really, we are discreet virgins. So don't even worry about the foolish thing. He's just saying that it could happen, but it won't. Weird. So I guess this picture is just saying be prepared and vigilant by, watching the news and correlating that with the Bible. Even though we just watched a video on stream that was like chastising witnesses who were too focused on the end. Like they did this whole video dramatization about how you shouldn't keep an expectation and obsess over when the end was going to come. But also, yes, you should, because that's what this Watchtower is about. It's almost intentionally contradictory to mess with your mind. And then there's more parables with slaves. I just want to read the culty parts. Okay, they do it again. I do think this is what they're doing. They're trying to say it's not possible for the governing body to lose their way. That's not what's happening. They're doing a that's not what's happening, really. And, I think we have to remind people that it is sometimes a
that is not what is happening. That is not what is happening.
Oh boy. So what the governing body is saying is like, okay, yes, in all of these parables, Jesus is providing warnings about people who are discreet or proactive and keeping on the watch and people who are not. But he's not saying that it's possible that the governing body could fail. That's not what's happening, oh faithful warriors of Jah. First of all, real quick, the Master Jesus invites them to enter into the joy of their master. More thumb-butt scenarios. Psychosexual Jesus relationships. But, okay, here's where they pull it. That's not what's happening. Prove yourself industrious and diligent. In the parable of the talents, as in the parable of the virgins, Jesus was not predicting that the anointed would become sluggish. Rather, he was explaining what would happen if ever they did lose their zeal. Which they won't. Of course, he's just saying what would happen if they did, but he wasn't predicting that they would. That's not what's happening, guys. We're imperfect, and we can make mistakes, but we don't need to apologize, and also, we can't fail. That's not possible, actually, even though we just told you about 3 stories in the Bible where Jesus said that it could. Jesus' parable is about the virgins and the talents. Oh, to be an untalented virgin. Make it clear that all anointed Christians must be prepared and vigilant, as well as industrious and diligent. But they're also saying that it doesn't matter because you won't not become industrious and vigilant. You don't have to worry about that. Weird. I think they're basically setting up this dichotomy where like normal anointed people, so Jehovah's Witnesses who just think in their own brains that they are one of the 144,000 people going to heaven, they do have to be on the watch, but governing body members specifically do not. This is a little weird after the removal of Anthony Morris, isn't it? Because I think if you are a Jehovah's Witness, you're sort of thinking, oh, well, maybe this is a sign that there are anointed governing body members who aren't going to be faithful until the end. And they're kind of saying like, nope, no, that's not what's happening. Just don't even think about that. Don't worry about it. And we're not going to talk about it. And we're going to remove most of his videos so you forget he was even there. Like the Ministry of the Truth in 1984, George Irwin, in his iconic book of literature, 1983. What I wanted to get into is just, after all this boring, apparently meaningless Bible talk, because they're just going to tell you what it means, and it never means what it seems to be saying, what have we considered? What have we considered for those who hope to live forever on earth? The parable of the sheep and the goats highlights the need to remain faithful and loyal to Jehovah. And just Jehovah, right? Probably also the organization they're going to throw in there. Now, and during the upcoming Great Tribulation, at that future time, Jesus will judge faithful ones as being worthy of departing into everlasting life. I don't know. This sucks.